with the quasi-government. Every accusation is a confession. And you can see why they drag me through the muck of being implied collaborator, because they're hiding their collaboration. I was a child who was tortured. I hid in the top shelf of my towel closet from men who were coming into my house, and no one else was home looking for me. And the instigators, the masterminds, would laugh and talk about top shelf. People who sold us the house evidently knew that a child could fit in the top shelf, just as the house across the street from Dilworth has a laundry chute that Howard can just about get stuck in. I got that raging earache. Now, the semiotics of Fetterman are interesting. I was attacked by Pittman, which is like Foreign-Man, the Beatles' first name. And if you look at a book like Reckonings, it's about Nuremberg, last 10 years. It quotes Holocaust survivors as saying it wouldn't be revenge unless the people they got revenge on were also innocent. And he talks about the pitmen being men who dug the pits for the corpses. So the pitman is that I was kidnapped and gassed by the pitmen. It's very relevant. And they had me pleading for my life to somebody named Gutendorf, who was with Laney, who was a stage manager who's tied to me, July Sellers, who was named in the script. She lived in the same house as James W. Child did. She gave me Selling by the Pound with the lyrics typed on onion skin paper. It resembled nothing so much as the girlfriend, quote unquote, in the canon. And of course, they tested the nerve agent's efficacy by having her confuse me and get me emotional. Laney is like Leni Riefenstahl. So, what do we know about Riefenstahl? She made the movie about Hitler. There you get the Gutendorf tie. And she's photographed with like a 7 foot tall black warrior in Africa. Now you get the shoe guard there tie. Like Tom Magna Cum made so much of because Sugar Bear made him look like a midget. He's real tall. Tall Tom, they call him. And of course, you have the Wizards of Black Horizons saying that that's what women want from black men. That's the reason why there was segregation, because white women couldn't be controlled over black men. One of the interpreters left. She didn't want to interpret what he was saying for me. She was too offended by it, too good. Another one, she was too indignant that this was a subject in the classroom. So the semiotics of Laney and Laney are clear. These are all the semiotics of Fetterman. They have, like you get the story, they let everybody hide under the umbrella of Reagan didn't accept the person who was victimized. And there's a lot of material evidence that can't be explained that way anyway. So they're battling for a dominant narrative that they want to make anybody who says anything question it, guilty of feudal treason. And this is the Fetterman con job. Now, what you see in sandbagger law, the sandbaggers who went along with this, despite the warning that Israel was genocidal, and what happened to Gaza, they're trying to mend fences with their media conscience, the soul that they present. But the reason they don't let me in is because they cut the deal with the Israelis that Reagan didn't know. It was a deal across the board to Moscow and back. Because they cut this deal and now they're finding out what Israel really has in mind, if they didn't know already, which many of them did. You got the Fetterman, like John Schulman and Adam Oz and stuff, the IDF warriors ripping off the museum and writing speeches for Donald Trump and pretending to be Abdul the terrorist and KKK. The hatred that comes from Palestinian feminists towards me because they're allies of Yoko Ono is part of the microcosm of the University of Pittsburgh. I see what they pulled with the stunt with the Donald Trump girl came on there. It's making a mockery of women because they were exploiting a neurotrauma that was poison work by Watnick, an IDF chemist, for the godfather of travesty, Peter David. And they didn't care. They were lying to the community of the University of Pittsburgh. They didn't care that they were making a butcher shop of the legacy system in the University of Pittsburgh. In the least. They didn't try to stop what was happening. They didn't try to be reasonable about my deafness and injury. They were just making a dark and dirty moonshine peep show, which they denied they were doing, which forced me to continue to try to smoke them out. While writing things like the persona is subjected to successive degradations of the X-Men. The key word there is subjected, because you could tell the authoritarian agency that was at work, and then subsumed into a larger structure dominated by its adversary, it goes on to say. So the dominating adversary is the furious fundamentalist tripartite, the Islamos, the Christian Zionists, the Israelis, working in cahoots on eliminating people with the blessings of these New York Palestinian women who can't bear the thought that they didn't understand what I was doing. I don't ask them to go out with me. But the appalling resentment that gets directed at me from people who I tried to warn has no basis in any sort of authenticity. Sean Lennon certainly had no grounds to come after me. The only thing that could have possibly motivated him was his mother's feudal mentality towards my father as a naval vet. And that allowed them to work with the people who wrote the script, which is another factor. Laney is a settler colonialist in Squirrel Hill. She's a very vicious, violent-minded individual like Gail Burson. I have no doubt that she knew all about what Gail was. So you have Fetterman basically as Pennsylvania's state leader of the prototype of the operation. Kidnapped little Jimmy and gassed him, then pretended that he was a sissy, I guess is what they all said.